and gentlemen, welcome to this Playbooks Town Hall event live from Ponsonby, Auckland, New Zealand. Please welcome to the stage founder and CEO Greg Sheehan.
Wow, this is cool. Thank you, Justin, thank you. Someone famous once said, always start with why. Well, let me start with my why that makes me cry. I love the world of small business. I love how someone can ply their craft, their passion, their calling, if you will, and in so doing in their business, provide for their families and for their communities. But business is hard. It is so hard. Too many businesses underperform or even fail. But today we want to talk about the start of something big. Something that I would love for each of you in your own unique way to become a part of. It's time to build out an ecosystem of small business success. Something that can cause a ripple across New Zealand, Australia, and beyond. My hope is that you find inspiration in today's speakers and in a product that we would love you to help us take to the world. Shortly, I'll introduce the first of our international speakers. I know that you'll feel full of inspiration when you hear the personal messages that each of them bring. But in our lineup today, I also think there's something here for everyone. Maybe you run a small business. Maybe you're one of the special people who advises small business. Or maybe you have a product or a service that, if used well, can solve a problem for a small business. Today, I am so excited to fully release the Playbooks product to the market. Today, we get to showcase the power of collective wisdom. That when two or more people get together and take action, they can bring expertise to every meeting. But more on that later. Right now, it's time to introduce the first of our international speakers. Savannah Peterson is a powerhouse business advisor in marketing, technology, and customer engagement. She's a celebrated Forbes 30 Under 30. She's an innovation strategist and an international speaker. Savannah teaches entrepreneurship, community innovation, and digital marketing at Stanford, NYU, and UCLA. Previous to last year's travel restrictions, Savvy was a regular visitor to New Zealand, leading hackathons, speaking at events, and as a New Zealand high-tech awards judge. We're so super excited to welcome Savvy from California. Savvy, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, Greg, I can hear you just great, and thank you so much for having me. Welcome to everyone in the audience, and please, since I know many of us are unfortunately remote today as well, do let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. I would love to say hello. Now, I know I don't just speak for myself when I say that the Zoom fatigue is real, and I am absolutely thrilled to see what the next innovations and meetings are about to be, thanks to Playbooks. To set the virtual stage, I want to tell you a story that is very poignant in my mind. I was meeting a girlfriend for lunch, ironically in Auckland, down near the viaduct, and as Shannon approached me, she asked, "Are we still hugging?" Normally, this would be a really strange question because I consider Shannon quite a good friend, but it happened to be March 16th, 2020. I smirked and gregariously embraced her, unmasked and unknowing that this would be both my last hug and my last meeting of 2020. I had no idea that meetings were about to change forever. At risk of sounding like your pandemic-induced therapist, we need to talk about the past real quick before we can talk about the future. So take a moment and think about the worst meetings you've ever had. Now, on the flip side, let's think about the best meetings you've ever had. I would be willing to venture that one of those was a lot more effective, productive, and definitely more fun than the other. Which brings me to the thesis of this talk. If time is the most precious resource we have, why are we so much more comfortable wasting it at work than we are in our personal lives? Seriously. The more aligned and educated parties are before a meeting, the easier it is to get through the agenda and get to the fun stuff faster. Productivity and purpose make us feel good. Hanging around while other people read things they should have read before the meeting or watching your boss type deflates the room like an air mattress on a hot day. Similarly, ignoring an elephant in the room, like the fact that we're not in the same room, doesn't work either. Because deals still depend on human connection, and trust and loyalty take time to build. And the best insights often come when you're off script. When you're on the same page, you have that human connection. You can maximize serendipity and truly collaborate, because that's what meetings are all about. They're a melding of the minds. When I prepare for a meeting, especially an important one, I make sure to do my homework. I look up any of their recent content or any news that may have been published about them, and I cross-reference that with my prepared questions. If I can find my answers on the internet, I'm certainly not going to ask them in our very precious one-on-one time. I want to take that opportunity to get the most personal and actionable advice that I can. And I know that there's few things more flattering than someone having done their homework on your background and understanding exactly how you can help them. Your network is truly your net worth. And someone much smarter than me said that and wrote a book about it, which I highly encourage you to check out. I know as a beachhead advisor for NZTE, as an international judge for the New Zealand High Tech Awards, as a newly minted Edmund Hillary Fellow, and as a Forbes 30 Under 30 alum, just how important this global human connection is. My network of allies have always been the light in the dark moments of my business. Read all of them. And if it wasn't for the gritty advisors, my accountant, fellow speakers, Silicon Valley legends, and even my mom, there's no way that I or the company would be what we are today. I've had the honor also of getting a chance to see just how much New Zealand invests in scaling your businesses. And it's a really special treat. It's a magical thing. In fact, while I won't make this talk political at all, let's just say things are a little bit different over here in the United States. I wish we took a note out of your playbook. Had to get a cheeky joke in there for y'all. I've been running an all-remote team for 5 years now, largely so that I could work from exotic locations guilt-free. But I underestimated just how much that travel for speaking and to see clients impacted my identity. Honestly, it's been a tough year, but it's nice to see the evolution of work around the globe. Now everyone gets to benefit from borderless business. We're already starting to see the technology industry and the tools that support it thrive, and that's awesome. What I'm saying is, just because our current situation has accelerated the remote work revolution by a decade, our desire for productive and non-repetitive human connection hasn't changed at all. And now that we've figured out a way to connect virtually, we need tools to harness and optimize each one of these virtual meetings. It's time for the tools that we use and the way that we meet to evolve. That said, I can't wait till meetings resume over cheeky bites and tasty wines, and occasionally the background gets a little blurred, if you know what I'm saying. In the meantime, my personal challenge to you is to be honest about the meetings that you're having, to bring awareness to work, to note what excites and inspires you and the things that bore you to pieces, to explore different lengths and different meeting formats, and identify the conversations and the things that you're repeating the most and turn them into playbooks. Because as you're about to see, the effective exchange of knowledge will be the next innovation in meetings. It has been such a joy to join you today. Thank you so much for letting the Californian get a taste of her favorite places on earth, and I cannot wait, sincerely, to return to New Zealand and Australia soon. In the meantime, my name is Savannah Peterson of Savvy Millennial. Please do stalk me on the internet through my name, my company, or at Sav is Savvy, anywhere you like to hang out on the interwebs. And that's enough from me. Now on to the good stuff, and back to you in the studio, Greg. Thanks again.
Thank you, Savvy, and we look forward to being able to welcome you to these shores when travel restrictions have eased. But now to the product. We have been doing so much work behind the scenes on the product, and we know you're looking forward to seeing what's being built. It now gives me enormous pleasure to welcome to the stage our Chief Product Officer, Tom Freeman. Hey man, all yours.
Thanks, Greg. Today we showcase the innovation our development team has been building over the last few months. When we initially launched Playbooks version 1 in September of 2020, we had two key objectives. Build a smart platform to manage all your meetings in one place, and create a simple but powerful content platform for sharing and publishing playbooks. During our scoping and our discussions with potential customers, consults with existing customers and people within Greg's network, we wanted to understand what was required. They wanted a fast and simple setup. They wanted robust integrations with the tools that they use every day, simple but accountable outcomes, and overall, a great experience. And that starts with a smart meeting tool. The first port of call in a smart meeting tool is the dashboard. Within the dashboard, we've got several key areas that are going to allow you to be productive, on time, and on point for your meetings. The upcoming meetings section on the left-hand side shows a list of your upcoming meetings, whether it be today, tomorrow, the meetings are in view. With a single click, we'll take you straight into the meeting and you can start being productive straight away. So the center of the dashboard is reserved for action points. We listen to users, we listen to commenters, we listen to our active users, and the feedback was they want to be able to clear action points from the dashboard without having to track down that meeting. So with a simple tick and a dismiss, your action points can be completed in day and you're ready to go for that follow-up meeting. And that third section, the public library of expertise. So right from the dashboard, we're showing you the most popular playbooks and the most recently added playbooks. This enables you to start consuming that content and deciding which content is critical to share in your meetings. And so on to the meeting listing page. This page has seen a major redesign from our version 1 of Playbooks released in September last year. This page now has simplified filtering. It has a calendar in view to allow you to get to meeting dates faster, and allows you to view meetings whether you're a participant or you're an organizer. Now this is powerful because other Playbook account users may set meetings with you all the time, but may then not be able to find the link to the meeting. So we listened to our user base again, and we've implemented participant visibility. So whether your meetings are internal, whether your meetings are external, or whether they are a collection of both, you will now be able to see all the meetings in a single view. But it gets better than that in terms of efficiencies. When you select a meeting tab, you can see a nice summary of all the agenda points and any Playbooks content that's been added to that meeting before it's even happened. That allows you to spend a little bit of extra time polishing up your pitch, perhaps thinking about what that client's objectives and goals really are, and being able to walk into the meeting with no surprises. And not forgetting smart controls throughout the Playbooks app, kicking off here in the meeting listing page. You can clone your meeting, so if you have recurring meetings, it could be the same meeting, same format, etc., at the touch of a button. Meeting editing tools, and obviously that meeting delete tool as well. Moving on to the contacts page, where a simplified view of all the contacts that you currently have in your Playbooks account. Edit, update, add additional information, and eventually contact syncing, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. We have search and filtering tools, so for those power users that have thousands of clients, it's much easier to track down that contact that you want to get in touch with or book a meeting with. In future, we're looking forward to introducing analytical tools, meeting listings, and so much more that can enrich your meeting experience with the contacts, clients, and external parties that you communicate with in meetings every day. So now we move on to where the magic happens, the meetings page. Now this was a particular tricky task. Lots of moving parts, lots of requests, lots of requirements. How could we build all the functionality in, but also maintaining simplicity? We want to make it as fast as possible to start a meeting, And we also want to make it as simple as possible for others to be able to collaborate within that meeting. So for this exciting new version of Playbooks, we've implemented a tile-based system. This gives meeting organisers and meeting participants the freedom to really control how a meeting looks and feels to them. You'll notice these tiles can be moved ever so slightly into different positions, and they'll also scale on mobile, which is a great experience for those taking a meeting on the train, perhaps on Zoom. But let's start with the info bar. There's a nice blue bar on the left-hand side. From here, you can get key information like meeting title, contacts and clients or primary participant in the meeting, date, time, those sorts of things, and a link perhaps to a Zoom or a Google Meet link. Calendly will automatically push those links through if a client books from that end, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Smart functions, where you can quickly clone the meeting if it's gone so well, or if it's a format of a meeting that you really think could be more valuable again in future. The ability to edit the meeting, and obviously the delete functions as well. Now, adding participants to meeting was a point of friction, where you would have to go into an edit panel, type in an email address, go back out to the meeting, and then obviously send a meeting invitation. We've simplified that for version 2 of Playbooks. You can send individual meeting invites out to individuals, you can send group invites out, and you can have single comments or group comments. This really allows you to customize your messaging to get people into meetings as quick as possible. And so on to agenda points, the area where you can really set the stage for a fantastic meeting. Collaborative from the moment the meeting invites get sent out, or even from whenever one of your meeting attendees books the meeting via Calendly. Agenda points can be added straight in from the Calendly comments section. But agenda points go beyond that, rather than just being a simple text field. With agenda points, you can add additional attachments from OneDrive and forthcoming providers down the track, and then the content library. This is the secret sauce to smart meetings. With the Playbooks library of expertise, you can support new discussions, evolve older discussions or discussions in flight, and perhaps reach some really incredible outcomes, or even get in touch with someone who's an expert in their field. So how do we make it so easy? At the tap of a button, the content library will pop out into the meeting interface. You can then select from your content, your team's content, or the public library. As you go through searching, filtering, finding that perfect piece of content to really light up the meeting and help your clients and or participants reach the outcomes that they most desire. It's that simple. But how do you keep a pulse check on the discussions in a meeting, and how do you keep a record of what you actually arrived to? So the notes section, we've given flexibility here for organisers. You've got your own private notes section. It could be something private that you want to discuss with a client, but perhaps you don't want to share that whilst the meeting's occurring. And then we also have the public notes field, whether it's recording meeting minutes, a short snapshot, some dot points, rich text, even emojis. So finally, perhaps the most critical part of any meeting, the action points. Action points hold people accountable to achieve key objectives, lay the groundwork for future plans, and obviously get things done. So with action points, we can pop those into the system, we can assign them, we can assign a date, and once again, they're tickable off from the dashboard as soon as they're complete. So that's the essence of our smart meeting tool, but the Playbooks value proposition absolutely does not end there. Let's talk about the content library. The content library enables businesses, advisors, organisers, whomever's using the meeting tool to promote their product or service, share advice in meetings, and ultimately help meeting participants and themselves reach the best possible outcomes. So whether you share your personal playbooks, curated and crafted by yourself, or you share your team's playbooks, or perhaps playbooks content from our library of expertise. But what is a playbook? Well, a playbook has a title, an industry, and perhaps a topic, or multiple topics. This allows the playbook to be searched much quicker and filtered in the library. With playbooks, you can share templates, resources, and any expertise or content you regularly share with clients in meetings. Or perhaps with your team. Are there regular things you share at a weekly stand-up? Is there a monthly meeting or a quarterly board meeting where particular types of content must be shared every time rather than you having to bring them into another platform? You can store all of those in playbooks and more. Plays sit inside a playbook. A play has a title, and then it can have as many talking points and as much richer content as you want possible using our rich content tools. Playbooks support your recommendations, your decision making, and your advisory practices right as it's being discussed in meetings. To help you discover content quickly and efficiently, we have search and smart keyword filtering. And to support you getting onto Playbooks as quick as possible, we have a wonderful migration support team ready to help. For businesses, getting in front of future customers can be hard and extremely expensive. So capturing buyers at the moment of discussion and decision making immediately creates value and trust. Playbooks elevates that trust by connecting buyers of providers and products and services without leaving the app. Each play takes advantage of our unique referral system. A simple two-step process puts that power in buyers' hands. Contact requests are sent in real time to content publishers, and so that relationship can begin right here in Playbooks. Let's talk about integrations. We know that robust integrations are critical to your success, and that starts with booking meetings. We launched our Calendly integration early this year. Syncing meetings booked in the popular Calendly booking tool sync to Playbooks in real time. Participants are even able to add agenda points in Calendly and start collaborating with you right away. Next up, contacts and calendars. Two of the most critical aspects to almost any business, and two that should always work in unison. So we've listened to our users, we've asked our future partners, what are those tools that they use every day and how can they plug into Playbooks? So I'm excited to announce today, development is underway on Office 365 integration, on a Google Workspace integration, on a Xero Practice Manager integration, and finally a HubSpot CRM integration. With Office 365 and Google Workspace, there are numerous modules that people use every day to be collaborative. We want to integrate those with Playbooks, whether it's contacts, it's calendars, it's file storage. All of those things will be slowly introduced to the Playbooks platform in the very near future. When it comes to Xero Practice Manager, from our research, we know that multiple accountants really do keep this as their true source of information for contacts. In order for Playbooks to work with those guys, we need to make sure that comes into the platform and also goes back out. So a two-way sync is very, very close to release. And so when it comes to CRM integrations, we know from listening to our customers that HubSpot seems to be the one they use the most. Whether that's syncing contacts in or out of Playbooks, whether that's pushing notes taken in Playbooks to HubSpot as meetings are concluded, or perhaps creating a task in HubSpot from an action point. Those key areas are the things that will make Playbooks more successful with our HubSpot users. So we look forward to sharing these brand new integrations with you in the coming weeks. And for our existing users, we'd love you to join our early access programs. Keep an eye out for comms coming out to that very, very soon, and we look forward to getting you integrated as quick as possible. Now I'd like to introduce our Chief Marketing Officer, Justin Flitter.
Well done, Tom. Thank you very much. It is super exciting to see the innovation that our entire development and engineering team have put together for us over the last few months. So Tom, congratulations. It is an incredible milestone to showcase our product today. I'd like to introduce our next international speaker. Edward Zia is a master coach, having spent more than 10,000 hours mentoring thousands of people globally to win more clients and achieve their personal goals. Edward Zia joins us live from Sydney, Australia. So rough estimate, Edward, how much time do you think you've spent in meetings in your lifetime?
I don't know what it is, Justin, but my first reaction is I must have been to at least 10,000 meetings in my lifetime. So I know 10,000 meetings, at least probably 100,000. Let's say I've spent at least 50,000 hours of my life in meetings. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly feels like that.
So that's a lot of time, Edward. What are some of your top tips for getting the most out of your meetings?
One of the biggest things that I've really learned about meetings is the amount of preparation you do is paramount. Now, be it you're doing the meeting over Zoom or over the phone, or you're meeting someone face-to-face, be it you're going to a boardroom, or you're just meeting for a coffee or something informally in a cafe, preparation is everything. And here are my top 3 tips for preparation. Now, no one ever talks about this, but I will, but make sure you've slept well the night before. Make sure you've had at least 8 hours of sleep, you weren't out drinking last night, and you feel good, because the fresher you are is the better it's going to be. That's point 1. Point 2, my legendary friends, is you want to do as much research as you can on the person that you're talking to. The more research you do, the better. Excuse the wind. It's always fun when you do these things live. It's a bit windy in Sydney today. And the third point I want to share with you, incredible people, and this is so important, is the art of listening. You got to really understand where the person's coming from so you can meet them on exactly what they need to know.
So sometimes you're in short meetings, sometimes you're in quite long meetings. You don't always get to set that with your client. How do you make sure that you get the most value out of every meeting, no matter whether it's 15 minutes or an hour or longer?
Exactly. So when you want to maximize the most out of a meeting, the first thing you want to do is have a clear outcome. You got to know, why are you doing the meeting? Is it informal? Is it to make friends? Is it to get some information? Is it to get a proposal through? Is it to get them to say yes? So that's the first thing. You got to have a clear outcome to the meeting. And once you have that outcome, it allows you to approach the meeting in such a certain way. So for example, let's say I want someone to sign up and use my services, or whatever the case might be, is, I want to persuade them to like me. That's my outcome of the meeting, and that should guide you. Now, the first thing you got to do is that when you're talking to someone is you need to have a bit of a structure as to how you're doing things. So even if you're sitting there casually in a cafe behaving all normal, you still need to have a great structure underneath. So the first thing is pleasantries. How are you going? What's going on? You might have a little bit of chit chat. Then you simply say something like this. Hey, are we ready to talk about X, Y, Z? Or a great question I love asking, and I learnt this from Microsoft, is, what are you trying to do? And then from there, you have the discussion and you listen very carefully to what the other person is saying.
So think about all that time you've spent in meetings, and think about the worst meeting you've ever had. What are the things that you can learn from that?
Oh, amazing. I remember one of the worst meetings I had. I used to work for a military supplier after my military days a long time ago. And by the way, I love that company, but I got assigned a terrible boss for a while who ended up getting fired, actually, which was quite funny. And I remember going to one of the worst meetings ever. Firstly, the boss was driving, so we were 45 minutes late to this very impatient foreman. So we were already 45 minutes late, and that already killed the meeting. But what was fascinating about this meeting is that my boss, who was utterly incompetent, wasn't actually listening. So the person that we were already doing business with and trying to sell more to, they were fuming, understandably, because we were late. And what happened was that this person would bring up concerns, and my boss wouldn't listen. They wouldn't even answer the concerns. They would just sit there, basically trying to talk over them. It was the worst meeting of my life. And to this day, it still traumatizes me because it was so badly planned, and there was just nothing but outcomes you can imagine.
So think on the flip side of that, what are some of the signs that a meeting is going really well?
I think when a meeting is going your way, you can tell usually the person's body language is good. They might be smiling, they might be more open in their body language. They might be giving you better answers and giving you more information. So usually you can tell by the tone or the way that the person's behaving. It's also the type of questions as well. If the person's trying to ask you questions and they're trying to kick you out the door, maybe the meeting isn't going so well. But if the person's like being pleasant, they're engaging with you, they seem friendly to you, chances are the meeting's going well. Another thing you can always do, and I've done this before actually, let's say you're in a meeting and you don't think it's going well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with actually stopping the meeting and saying, look, I just want to double check. Is this meeting going the way that you've expected? And I've actually had a few meetings where I haven't felt good about the meetings. I just actually stopped the meeting. Look, is this meeting going the way that you want? And it forces the other side to do two things. They either have to, three things. Yes, the meeting is going well, or it forces them to stop the meeting and tell you the problems, or thirdly, it forces them to lie, which puts them in a difficult position, which will screw them later on.
So what's your advice for conducting a great meeting? Is it short, long, standing, walking? Is there a one-size-fits-all here?
Look, when it comes to meetings, there is no one-size-fits-all because you have different people. Some, like if you're into disc profiling like I am, people who are more influencers, they want to talk to you, they want to have a bit of chit-chat. If someone's more of a director personality like me, they don't like chit-chat. So there is no one-size-that-fits-all, but I will say this, you got to bend to make the other person feel good. So if the other person wants to cut to the chase, you cut to the chase. The other person wants to engage in chit-chat, you engage in chit-chat. So I suppose my one-size-fits-all would be adapting as much as you can to the style of the other person.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ed, thank you so much for joining us at the Playbooks Town Hall. It's fantastic to have you on the show today. And that was Edward Zia, live under the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Thank you for joining us today, Ed. Earlier, Greg mentioned the power of community, and that is something I'm super passionate about. to build a community of business owners, business advisors and leaders to share their expertise and their knowledge to help others build businesses that support their families and their communities for years to come. So today we launch playmakers.live, our community for ambitious business leaders. Jump on playmakers.live to create your profile, to share your expertise, to host webinars with me. And in the future, we'll be hosting live events across New Zealand and Australia and around the world where we can all get together to meet, discuss, to network and do business. During his product demonstration, Tom talked about sharing playbooks with team members. Today we launch Playbooks for Teams, a new plan to enable companies to create libraries of expertise, content, resources, documentation that you regularly share in meetings with staff or clients. In our customer feedback, having access to that information in a meeting is super powerful. It saves you a ton of time from running around after a meeting trying to find the person with that domain knowledge or search for that document that's lost somewhere in your file storage. With Playbooks, you can make that content instantly available and accessible in meetings when you're having that conversation and it matters the most. So that's all for me. I'd like to hand you back to Greg Sheehan.
Thank you so much, Justin. Wow, what a privilege to be able to bring this to you today. Hopefully you have heard from the speakers, you've been inspired, and you've also got excited about the Playbooks product. But of course, it's not just about the product. It is also about the community that we build together. Small business is important. Small business allows people to live a life of meaning and purpose, to ply their craft and their trade and provide for their families and for those they love. You can play a special role in this, and we would love you to do that. Thank you so much for taking the time today to be part of the Playbooks community. Thank you.
Playbooks is the platform for managing all your meetings and knowledge in one place. Let's see what kind of difference it can make. John's day is hectic, with back-to-back meetings and endless phone calls. John's notes are scattered across the office. Pulling together the best advice and time for each meeting is stressful. Sarah is set for success, using Playbooks to manage all her meetings and share knowledge with her clients and staff. Clients can book meetings using Sarah's favourite scheduling tool, like Calendly, which automatically creates the meetings in Playbooks. Sarah invites attendees who add agenda items and attachments. Meanwhile, John is still searching for the notes from his last meeting with Angela. Sarah's meeting with a high-growth software company kicks off seamlessly. Their company documents have all been attached to agenda items using OneDrive. Sarah has added her press release template, saved as a playbook in her personal library, and 2 playbooks written by industry experts from the public library. Together, they map out a game plan for the upcoming product launch, assign tasks for people to follow up, and record meeting notes. After the meeting, everyone gets a summary email detailing the action points they are responsible for. After a quick coffee, Sarah creates a playbook in her personal library for her new client. She summarises the company's key strategic objectives and the campaign they created, Playbooks makes meetings fast and effective, putting everyone on the same page with automated scheduling, collaborative agenda items, documents and notes, and assigned action points. Best of all, you can host unlimited meetings in Playbooks for free. Sign up now at playbooks.live.